Today we're looking at I Write Like, a style analyzer which takes your word choice and writing style to compare with 50 famous authors. And here they are. I'm actually quite interested in how this machine works. As you can see, there is a selection of more modern authors and what some may call historical. On this board we have a range of writing styles, and I wonder what the chances that it suggests you write similarly to someone like Jane Austen or Hemingway. Well, I guess all we can do is find out. Now, I've not read quite a few of these authors' works, but if I had to guess, I think it would suggest that I write like H.G. Wells or Stephen King, although nowhere near their standards. The reason I say this is because I write kind of plainly, I go on some tangents, and also focus on kind of sci-fi or horror elements in my writing. For this initial pass, this first analysis, what I'm going to do is write out a chapter from the latest novel that I'm working on. I want you to understand the kind of writing that I'm working on right now. I think maybe it will allow you to get some insight into whether you believe the analyzer is doing its job correctly. What I would love to see here is a curveball. I would love to see an author maybe from the 1800s or from a genre that I don't usually work in. But the text is coming near its conclusion now, and I'm interested to see what we find out. Okay, so my initial impression. I did not expect David Foster Wallace. I have never read his work before, but I do know him as the author of Infinite Jest, as it says in his description. Okay, so I'm pretty sure if we open this up here, it will give us a little bit more of an insight into why it thinks that we're similar to him. Maximalist, revels in the complexity of thought and emotion, challenging readers to navigate through dense layered text. I have to admit, yeah, that is quite similar to my writing style, so up to now I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10, but we'll see if it stays at that score. Wallace's sentences themselves are a playground of linguistic experimentation. Now, I don't know if my sentences are, but the styles of novels that I aim for definitely fall under this. The concepts that I aim for are usually quite cluttered with different characters and different viewpoints. Look in here, stretch on lines punctuated by sides, footnotes and clauses nest within clauses. Yes, this is typically me. Winding, expansive sentence structure. You know what, again, I'm feeling like it's hitting. His vocabulary was both broad and esoteric. Esoteric? Oh god, I've never said this word out loud before. Featuring a mix of jargon from various domains. Yeah, okay. So again, I feel like my previous work was more jargon focused. So if you read one of my earlier books that I wrote, it is full of jargon. I'm not sure that's the cause or the case for the one I'm writing right now. However, I do dip a lot into philosophy, linguistics, pop culture, although it's in-world pop culture, not necessarily Earth pop culture. So honestly, up to now, I'm loving this, and I think it's time to look at the next block of text to see whether we can get something else that's right up my alley. Alright, so this next story is sci-fi. It's pretty short. It has a kind of campy, fun feel about it, and I did base on Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker trilogy / quadrilogy, but we'll paste it in right now. I'll have a scroll through the story in case you want to read it, and then we'll head on over to analysing it. It's about two brothers who take a captive and are now being pursued by interdimensional police. Really fun, really stupid, but I loved writing it. Alright, so we're just about there, so let's go ahead and analyze it, and we get Dan Brown. Okay, very interesting. Immediately from the opening line, I can understand why it chose Dan Brown. It's saying here fast-paced, accessible, and heavily plot-driven. I guess this story, I mean, to me it doesn't have a lot of plot necessarily going in the narrative, but it has a lot of ties going into potential plot as the novel may unfold. Intense pacing, I would agree with that. Suspenseful storytelling, yeah, you know what, I understand it. Maybe this analyzer is a little better than I thought it was. Multi-thread narrative, I don't know if I totally agree with that one right now. I think there's a narrative of the family and like the kidnapping, but I think they're a bit too weak to be called multi-threaded, in my short story at least. Okay, dialogue, interesting. So yeah, this is something I do agree with. He often uses conversations between characters as a vehicle for exposition. Now, because this is a short story and it's in a confined space of this small spaceship, yeah, the exposition comes out through the main characters speaking. Overall, yeah, I do agree with this analyzation? Oh my god, I forgot the word, but anyway, I agree with the analyzer. Yeah, this was a good pull, I'll admit. Let's do one more. Okay, so this last short story is a little different because it is written in first person. It is 12 pages, and the author that I was kind of inspired by was H.G. Wells, especially The Time Machine, and specifically the underground segments about 3/4 the way through the novel, with the creepy, I forget their names, but the creepy little mole creatures. It's mystical, it's definitely nonsensical. I didn't write it thinking that it would be implemented into anything until I wrote my latest book, and I found a little segment that I can get shoved into. And yeah, it's first person, which I never write, but I do think this came out all right, or I should say okay. I'll scroll through it again here. You can give it a little pause. As you can see, my guess of 12 pages was dead on. But yeah, enjoy the scroll through. I'll quicken up a little bit, and then we'll get on to analysing for the final time. Okay, that took a little while, didn't it? That is 12 pages. Let's get to analysing. And let's close this ad. Good for you for showing the advertisements. Bram Stoker. This is again unexpected. Let's get into this. Okay, author of Dracula. This again, I think this shows that the analyzer is 2 steps ahead of me. We're back in the chess game. You know, a couple of videos ago I tried out chess because someone said it was just like writing, and I feel like I'm back in that video. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. I wrote a first-person short story. It has a very creepy character that is malicious, I should say, without spoiling it. And it's atmospheric, yes, right here, I agree with it. It is rather ornate. I wrote it very flowery, expecting it to feel like it was from the 1800s, which, oh, look at this. Bram Stoker was born in the 1800s. Absolutely crazy. I don't know what a polyphonic is, like a polyphonic narrative structure. It weaves together a tapestry of journal entries. Now, this short story is, although not noted in the short story itself, it is a journal entry or a memory, however you want to take it, so that does make sense. Now, I find this bit interesting here. For instance, the scholarly Van Helsing's entries are laden with a formal, somewhat cumbersome diction that contrasts sharply with the more straightforward, colloquial tone of the young solicitor, Jonathan Harker. Yeah, I think in a similar sense, although it's not two characters in the short story that I wrote, it is rather cumbersome in a little bit, but it's meant to be because it's coming from an older person's perspective. And I think there are points when in the past you're speaking presently that simplifies the narrative. Okay, uncanny horror elements. I would think it's a little uncanny mine. I like my short story. Isn't that crazy? We all like our stories. But I would agree with this too. As I said, I wanted curveballs out of this and it absolutely provided them. I'm hoping that in a sense it's not very horoscopy, that if you try it, the link will be in the description, that you don't get a similar set of authors. I know it's only pulling from 50, so it's limited in its capacity to, I guess, analyze and then compare. I think it's done a very good job and I think you should try it out. Let me know if you do. This has been a really fun exercise, so thank you for joining in. I hope you had a good time and I'll see you when I post the next video. Okay, goodbye.